What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do a prediction video for UFC 245. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Punahele Soriano versus Oscar Pococha. And to me, I think Oscar, I think he's a little bit better of a grappler. I think Punahele is a little bit better of a wrestler. I think striking-wise it's pretty close. I think they both hit pretty hard. They both have just kind of below average conditioning. It's a really, really close fight. I'm leaning towards Punahele, mainly just because he's from Hawaii. But, I really think this fight could go either way. It kind of just depends who lands the better shot first, because I think that's what's going to be. I think whoever lands the big shot first is going to end up dominating this fight and probably getting a first-round finish. But I'm leaning towards Punahele. I think he's going to land the big shot first, and I think he's going to win by first-round TKO. Next is Jessica Eye versus Viviana Araújo. And to me, I think Viviana is a good fighter, but I think she's kind of... I don't know the best way to put it. She looks too big for this weight class. Like, she looked a little small at the other weight she was fighting, but I don't know. She's kind of got that Rich Franklin thing going on, in my opinion. I think that Jessica Eye is the better technical striker of the two. Viviana probably hits a little bit harder, and I think her wrestling is a little bit better. I just think this is going to be back and forth, but I think Jessica's going to kind of bulldog her way through every round and just kind of edge out every round and win a 30-27 decision. Next is Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara-France, and to me, I think this is going to be kind of like when Overeem just fought Rozenstruik. I think that, other than Rozenstruik getting really lucky with the ref stopping it when Overeem wasn't unconscious, I think that, Kai Kara-France is the better wrestler and the better striker of the two. And as long as he doesn't get caught with something crazy and he minds his P's and Q's whenever Moreno goes for takedowns, he should be able to stuff the takedowns, and on the feet he should be the better striker. I don't think he'll finish Moreno, but I do think he's going to edge out all three rounds. Like I said, I think his wrestling and his striking are both better, and as long as he doesn't get caught with anything crazy or, lets Moreno, get wild with a takedown, he should be able to edge out all three rounds and win a 30-27 decision. Next is Chase Hopper versus Daniel Teymur, and to me, Chase Hopper, he's a good grappler, but that's about it. I think Daniel Teymur has an overwhelming advantage on the feet. I think Teymur, he's good enough to survive on the ground with Hopper. I think he just needs to pace himself. That's the one disadvantage he has, is that he doesn't pace himself and he gasses sometimes. But if he paces himself, I think he can stuff the takedowns and just outstrike Hopper on the feet and probably eventually win by knockout, probably late in the second. I've got Teymur winning. The next fight is Matt Brown versus Ben Saunders, and to me, I feel like Matt Brown should win this fight pretty easily. I think he's the better striker and he hits harder. He's better at finding the target. The only thing that worries me is that Ben Saunders, whatever strikes he throws at the head, he's equally as good at throwing at the body, and Matt Brown's shown that he's very easy to hurt to the body. And that's really the only thing I think that, the only way Ben can win this fight. I think on the ground, Saunders is probably a little bit more technical, but I think Matt Brown, it doesn't really matter. I think he's just going to overwhelm Ben if it goes there, whether he's on top or on bottom. I just think his pace is better, and the way he can do damage on top or on bottom, or, you know what I mean? I think he's just a little bit better, but the only thing that concerns me is the body shots. If Matt Brown doesn't get hit with a big body shot, then he's going to win by knockout, probably in the first round. Next is Ian Heinisch versus Omari Akhmedov. And to me, I just think Ian Heinisch's pace and his ability to keep moving forward and his volume is going to win this fight. Overall, these guys have pretty similar styles. They're both striker wrestlers who are both really good at getting back up. They're hard to hold down. I just think, like I said, Ian's conditioning and his volume is going to edge him out all three rounds, and I think he's just going to win a 30-27 decision. Next is Kathleen Vieira versus Irene Aldana, and my one and only fear in this fight is Vieira hasn't fought in like almost 2 years. But if she comes into this fight looking like how she did, in her last few fights, she'll win this fight pretty easily. I think on the ground she's got a massive advantage. Striking, Irina's definitely got an advantage, but I really don't think it's going to matter. I think Vieira's got a massive advantage in wrestling and jiu-jitsu. And like I said, I think if she gets to the ground, she's going to dominate it. I don't know if she'll get a finish. She might get one late, but I think she's going to win all three rounds as long as she, like I said, looks like how she looked before this long layoff, which I think she will. She's still young, so I don't think any injury she had will slow her down too much. So I'm going to pick Vieira to win either by decision or late third round submission. Next is Jeff Neal versus Mike Perry, and to me, we've seen it several times already. Mike Perry has a hard time dealing with really, really technical strikers. I don't think Mike Perry's wrestling is good enough to get Jeff to the ground and hold him down. He might land a takedown here or there, but I don't think he'll be able to hold him down. And like I said, I think Jeff can just pick Mike Perry apart from the outside. I think he's way too fast. I think he's way too long and too technical. I mean, Mike Perry might get lucky and land a few big shots here and there, but I don't think he's ever going to not rock Jeff Neal. I think if anything, Jeff Neal might knock him out. I think Jeff Neal's gonna I think this fight's gonna be a lot like the fight Jeff Neal had with Bel Muhammad, in all honesty, where, Mike Perry lands a few shots here and there, but for the most part, it's just Jeff Neal dominating, and maybe he gets a late knockout with like a head kick or something. But I'm going with a 30-27 decision win for Jeff Neal. Next is Peter Yan versus Uriah Faber, and realistically, Peter Yan's gonna win, but I want Uriah to win, so I'm gonna pick him. I mean, Yan's just younger, and he's better kind of everywhere. He's probably the better wrestler at this point, just age-wise. His striking is definitely better. The only real advantage Uriah probably has is his overall jiu-jitsu, but I don't think that's going to matter. Uriah can definitely catch him with a guillotine or a punch. He's, got power in his hands, and, when Peter goes for those takedowns, he can definitely catch him with a guillotine. But realistically, I just think Yan's going to edge out all 3 rounds, but I'm going to pick Faber. I know he's not going to win, but I'm going to pick him. Next is Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo, and if this fight was at 45, I'd be picking Aldo, but it's not. I mean, Aldo tends to slow down at 45, and he can say whatever he wants. This weight cut's going easy. That's bullshit. That dude's big at 45. You know what I mean? I just feel like this weight cut, he'll make it. Marlon Moraes is a big 35 or 2, but I think Marlon, we've seen, he can fight 3 solid rounds at, 35, as long as guys don't go berserk on him like Cejudo did. He can keep a solid pace. And I think Aldo, like I said, he has a hard time keeping the same pace at 45. We saw when he fought Volkanovski. Volkanovski was starting to make him gas a little bit. Like, not a ton, but, he just kept putting the pace on him, and he started to slow. And it's like, at 35, I just imagine that for 3 rounds. I think Marlon, I don't know if he'll knock out Aldo, but I just see him, landing the better strikes throughout the fight. And I think he's going to win all 3 rounds, and I think he's going to win a 30-20 decision, or maybe even get a knockout. I mean, like I said, I just think he's going to have the speed and conditioning advantage, and he's just going to be able to pace himself better than Aldo will. So, yeah, I got Marlon winning by decision. Next is Amanda Nunes versus Jermaine Demandamine. And this is entirely, to me, like, on the feet, it's pretty close. I think Jermaine's a little bit better of a striker overall. Amanda's probably the better wrestler and jiu-jitsu fighter, but I don't know if she'll be able to take Jermaine down. Jermaine hasn't been taken down in a long time. Like her last 4 or 5 fights, people have tried consistently, and they've consistently failed. Like, I don't think she's been taken down once in her last 4 or 5 fights. And I mean, like I said, on the feet, I think it's pretty close. I think they both have power, and they both have really good technique. Like I said, I think Jermaine's a little bit better at both, but Amanda's got the big advantage in grappling. So it's a toss-up, but I'm leaning towards Jermaine. I think she's going to win 3 of the 5 rounds by decision. But like I said, I could see if Amanda ever gets this fight to the ground, she'll win by rear naked choke, like, right away. But if she can't, then, like I said, I'm slightly leaning towards Jermaine to win by decision. Next is Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. And to me, I think this is going to be a lot like Max's fight against... It's going to be like in between his fight with Dustin, the rematch, and Frankie Edgar. I don't think it'll be as tough as the fight he had with Dustin, because I don't think Volkanovski's got as good as a boxing as Dustin. But I do think he has the same kind of size and physicality to kind of, like, move forward on Max. But it's kind of the same thing with Frankie Edgar, where I think Max just has the reach and the overall better striking, where he can just kind of keep Volkanovski on the outside and pick him apart. So, like I said, I think this will be tougher than the Edgar fight, but not as hard as the Poirier fight. So, it's really hard to tell, but I just don't think Volkanovski's going to be able to take Max down and hold him down like he does a lot of other guys. And I think Max's reach is just going to be a huge thing in this fight. I think Max is going to be able to continuously keep Volkanovski at the end of his jab, because Volkanovski is a pretty short featherweight, you know what I mean? Like, he's a thick dude, but it's mostly, like, muscle and shit like that. He's a lot shorter than Max. His reach is a lot shorter than Max. And I feel like if he can't get his wrestling game going, Max is going to pick him apart. And I think this fight will be tough. It'll be close. I think Volkanovski is definitely going to win at least a round or 2, but I think Max is going to win at least 3 rounds if he doesn't get a late finish, if Volkanovski starts to slow down because he can't get the takedowns. And, finally, we got Usman versus Covington. And to me, whatever happens in round 1 is going to happen for 5 rounds. People need to stop saying one guy has better conditioning over the other. They have the same conditioning. They're the same fighter. The only differences I see between these two is Usman's the more physically powerful guy, and Covington's a little bit better of a striker. He's better at throwing volume and combinations. To me, if Usman can consistently push Covington against the fence and trap him there, he's going to win. If Covington can consistently get away from the fence and keep it in the middle of the octagon and just box with him, he's probably going to win. I don't think either of these guys can hold each other down. Like, they might land takedowns on each other here and there, but they're both too good at stuffing takedowns and getting back to their feet. it's pretty obvious how both these guys win this fight, in my opinion. Usman pushes Covington against the fence and just continuously hits him with little short shots. And he's not going to get tired. He's going to be able to do that for 5 rounds. Like I said, people need to shut the fuck up. Like, both these guys can do the same thing for 5 straight rounds. And vice versa. For Covington, it's to keep it in the middle and just box for 5 rounds. Like I said, he's definitely the better guy when it comes to throwing volume. And his overall boxing technique is definitely better. I'm leaning towards Covington. I think his wrestling's too good to just get trapped against the fence. You never know. Usman could be strong enough to just pin him there. But if he can't, which is why I don't think he will be able to, I think Covington will be able to continuously escape the being pushed against the fence and just outbox Usman a little bit. This is another fight that I think is going to be pretty close, but I just got Covington edging out at least 3 of the 5 rounds and winning by decision. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.